G'day folks, it's Phil from 15-Minute Guitar Practice with another concepts lesson. These are concepts that help my playing and hopefully they will help you with your playing. Now, let me ask you a question. What is the hardest thing you can think about in terms of understanding and applying in your playing right now? I heard everyone say it's the modes. The modes freak people out. They confuse people and I was one of them. But hopefully what I'm about to share with you will help a little bit. Okay, let me just give you the modes. We have Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian and Locrian. Okay, you may already know that, and that's not really very helpful. So Phil, get on with the stuff that might be helpful. Let's chop those modes up. Let's kind of halve the problem and half the problem again and get to something we can use. So instead of thinking about 7 modes that you don't know anything about, let's put them into categories. Let's put them into major modes and minor modes. Okay, we've got 3 major modes, 3 minor modes, and 1 diminished mode. But in my head, actually, that diminished mode is kind of in the minor category because it's got a minor third. And while that might not be musically classroom correct, it's just how I organise my thoughts in my brain. So anything with a minor third for me is minor. Anything with a major third, whether it's a chord or a scale or a mode, is major. And Locrian has a minor third, so for me, I'm putting it in the minor category box. Okay, so now we've got 2 groups, really 3, but let's not worry about Locrian. 2 groups, and so then we can just look at 1 group. Okay, so let's look at the minor modes group first, because I play a lot of minor pentatonic stuff. And what I want to do is look at the modes in that minor group that are most relevant to the genres that I play and love to play. And you might be different, but I play blues and rock and funk and soul. So really, in terms of minor modes, I will be using Dorian and Aeolian. Probably don't really go near Phrygian that much. Okay? But you might be into, you know, black metal, you might be in the kind of Locrian side of things, I don't know. But this is how I'm organising my thoughts, my concepts, so they're usable, because there's a lot of knowledge about modes and you can absorb that, but when it comes to applying it, that's where you can get really stuck. For me, because I play this kind of blues and rock and stuff like that, I was really well versed in pentatonic playing. And the good news is, if you are playing in the same vein with, you know, your pentatonics, then one thing I want to introduce is that you already know 71% of the modes. Because the pentatonics you're playing, they're 5-note scales. They're actually 5 notes that are contained within the modes. Okay, so you already know 5 out of the 7 notes of the modes. So you really only need to know which 2 notes extra you put on top of your pentatonic to make it that particular mode. So those notes, those 2 extra notes, they do change depending on which mode it is. Sometimes you get one that's common across several modes and one that's different. But you just need to learn those 2 extra notes. Okay, so let's take Dorian as our example. And let's take our pentatonic scale, shape 1, at the 5th fret. Okay, what we're going to add to that is our 2 Dorian notes. The 2 Dorian notes are the major 2nd, which is here, and the major 6th, which is here. Okay, and we will have to add those again an octave higher. So the full shape with those 2 notes included in our pentatonic skeleton would be this. Okay, so that is our Dorian shape, or one of them. There's lots of different ways to play. Now, another thing I need to really drill home is you can't hear the modes. In fact, modes don't come into being until there are two sources of sound. You, the soloist, and something else. That something else is a backing track. It might be another guitar player. It might be a looper pedal, or it might be you droning an open string. But there needs to be two things going on, because modes are only created when there are two things, because it's the interplay of the notes and the chords and that relationship that gives the modal color that we hear. So if you drone an open A string, for example, and then you play the notes, that should feel Dorian, because we've got a second source of sound. If you just play this, what you're actually doing is just playing a slice of the major scale in varying positions. So modes don't come into being until there is a second sound source, unless there's notes and chords and relationship between those two things. Okay, so let's go back to our Dorian example. Okay, if you want to start phrasing and sounding Dorian, the best place to start is with the pentatonic skeleton, because that is the thing that you've been using all these years. You've been using your pentatonic shape 1 to cover pretty much all the bases. Am I right? So now we just need to drop in those two notes in the appropriate place, and the best place to put them is kind of at the end of a phrase, so you hang on that colored note. Okay, you hang on that modal colored note, and against your backing it will sound like Dorian. Sounds Dorian. Okay, so things to take away from this. You already know 5/7 of the modes. Pick one mode that's relevant to your playing and study which two additional notes are relevant to that mode. And then apply that by playing your favorite pentatonic licks, but adding in those two colorful notes in the appropriate places. I mean, you don't have to necessarily end on the phrase like I've suggested, but you can include them, but it sounds most modal when you hang on those two additional notes. So that's your 3-step plan. I hope you found this concept lesson useful. I hope it's brought you closer to understanding the modes. By the way, I don't think you get a bolt from the blue where you just go, oh, modes, I get it. It seems to be, for at least me and the guitarists I know, when I talk about our learning pathway, it's something that we understood a tiny bit of for a while, and then as time passed we understood a bit more and a bit more. If you try and understand the whole thing, I think it just blows your mind. So I think it's something that you'll, even if you don't know what I'm talking about now, if you come back to this video in 3 months, you might understand a bit more. But for now, if you even understand 50% of what I said today, then that's a good start. Okay? If you like this concept lesson, please leave me a comment below, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think I suck. That's totally fine. There are plenty of other places you can go for people to teach you what I'm trying to teach you here. Please subscribe if you'd like to hear more from me, and if you want to hear more from me as soon as I get my act together to make a new video, then obviously click the little bell icon. Alright, this is Phil from 15 Minute Guitar Practice, saying bye for now. Cheers.